Good Gab, sponsored by Skillskin, a nonprofit organization empowering individuals with disabilities through employment. One of my favorite people, someone I've got to know over the last few years, and we get to do big stuff together. Today, our guest is Chrystal Ortega, Executive Director of Feed Spokane, basically a magician. She's everywhere. We know and love her. Chrystal, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think I'm a magician. I just know really, really magical people.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chrystal, it's awesome to see you. Thank you for joining us today. You've been in, the Spokane community for quite a while now. You've had your hands in so many of our listeners, businesses, nonprofits, and, their training. And now, you're heading up and leading Feed Spokane. Yeah. And we want to hear more. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, so thank you, Steve. I've been a part of the Spokane community since 2011, and the military brought me and my family here. What's going on in my world right now? In September, I made a career change and decided to really focus on community immediate needs. I'm a Medical Lake resident like you. And when you have a kind of a traumatic event like a wildfire take place, you immediately know the things that I need to take care of right now for my community members is food, water, or shelter. We had water. I don't think I can build shelter, but I can help provide food. So that's kind of why I made that change.
That was the genesis?
That's the genesis right there. Yeah. So that's what made that big change for me. Yeah.
Well, tell us more about Feed Spokane.
So Feed Spokane, it came out of an idea and a communication back in 2005 when a lot of meal site directors were realizing that they were struggling to get food and there had to be something easier. And so they came along with SNAP and decided, there's a lot of food out there that's just going to be in part of our waste eventually. Okay. And it's good quality food. It's just overage, right? Every restaurant caterer probably says, we got to make 10% more than what we need.
Sure.
Where does that food go? It unfortunately usually ends up in landfills. And so they decided, let's go and see if we could rescue this. And something that a lot of people don't realize is that there's actual national legislation called the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Act, which covers people as long as, in good conscience, you're handling the food appropriately, keeping it packaged, keeping it refrigerated. You're covered under that act as a business if you partner with somebody who's doing the same thing.
Okay.
So it's a thing a lot of people don't know about. And I say
But that's the protection where the nonprofit can live under then.
Right. And the restaurant that makes the donation to us as well.
They don't have to be worried about being sued.
Right. And I bring that up because my husband and I got married in 2002. And I remember having our wedding. It was in California. And we way over ordered food. And I remember saying, can this food go somewhere? And the caterer was like, no, we're not allowed to. And I just, at that point in time, thought, yeah, and I kind of want to go back and get the credit for that food, right? Because I'm like, it could have went to a shelter, it could have went somewhere. So that's kind of, it's a partnership between food donors and food banks, and we're kind of the conduit in between. So we don't directly serve a client. We serve about 40 plus food bank and meal sites here in the area.
So like the food bank in our town in Medical Lake.
Yes, so Feed Medical Lake is one of our clients, and which makes it exceptionally special to me when I know that we're going to have good quality things. And then I see what they're serving on Monday, and they share it. And I'm like, I remember giving them that food. It's pretty cool. So
amazing. So people, what a Spokane story. We saw a need. Some groups got together. Some people got together and said, okay, we're going to fill it. Yeah. And now almost 20 years later, still going strong.
Yeah, we are. And I have to tell you, this could be a national thing, right? Everybody could do this. It's national rules that cover that. But actually one of our food donors is Arby's here locally.
I saw that. I went through a drive-through the other day and they're like, hey, do you want I think it was donate $1 to Feed Spokane. And I was like, is that, and I think that was the promotion. I'm like, Yes, I do.
And I have to say, so it wasn't even a full month, right? $14,309 came from Arby's.
Nice.
But I bring that up because their owner shared with me, they were kind of at the beginning of when people started to donate food. And, for a while, people kind of hid that, right? They're like, we don't want people to know that we donate our food.
Right. Like maybe there was some shame or something.
Maybe shame or
made up, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, I would be like putting that on your billboard because I go to those places now, right? I had Arby's for lunch yesterday because I'm like, Arby's makes a difference in our community. So 100%. Yeah. So, it's just those food donors matching and then feeding the food banks here locally.
Well, you cracked me up last week. We were at that summit together and you're like, I got a story for you. It was the milk story. How many gallons did you do?
It was over 2,000 gallons of milk. So so I was taking phone calls when Steve and I were at a summit for Skill Skin.
Yeah, for our merger.
Yes. And so I'm getting these calls and I'm calling our warehouse coordinator, Melissa, and we're trying to decide, can we take this amount of milk? And we're doing the math and we're like, yeah, we could do this. We might have overestimated our space. So I came back on Friday morning and I literally drove 2 vans around throughout the portion of that day and dropped off milk to, we have established partnerships, but sometimes we have more than even they can take on. So I was at Catholic Charities Apartments donating milk to our elderly people who need milk. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's incredible to just, that's the kind of flexibility that you and your organization have. It's like you're helping out all these centers, but it's like, we have this, let's figure out how to get it out.
Yeah, and the reason we can have flexibility is because we have a really good partnership with the Spokane Regional Health District, and one of their staff members is on our board, and they really make sure that we know how to do things safely, which is what allows us to be flexible, right? So
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, let's help.
Yeah.
So, so Feed Spokane, it's a really big partnership with a lot of people, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And you all are just the conduit of the food.
Yeah. So we have partnerships with probably nonprofits that you featured here. So we have partnerships with Salvation Army, Blessings, Spokane AIDS Network, so many local churches. I'm probably forgetting favorite ones.
Okay. So when I was like under the bridge, like years ago when that was happening, some of that food probably came from Feed Spokane.
I don't know if it came from it at that point in time. We actually have a really good partnership with them because, sometimes they get things in excess, right? And especially soda, things like that. And, you don't think like soda's not a nutritional value to people, right?
Right.
But I love that one of my food banks said, we're not just like giving people food to survive. We're giving them to have a life, right? And like, we all like a soda once in a while.
Sure.
Right? But it's not probably in your food budget. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's a treat.
Yeah. And it's just pretty awesome. So they bring it. They are not able to store the quantity that we are. We have a really small warehouse in all actuality. I think it's 1,100 square feet. But we got really inventive with space. So we're able to store things. And then again, they're one nonprofit. I like to say, we might have one, 501c3 designation letter, but we really are all of the nonprofits that we serve. And I do, before I forget, I want to make sure, I know that we're Feed Spokane, but I'm really proud of the fact that we have clients in Ione, Cusick, Sprague, Spangle, Davenport, Medical Lake, Addie. So we're serving more than just the Spokane area.
Yeah, you are. That's a big geography.
Yeah.
That is the inland Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool when you know that like we provide a service that is worth traveling, an hour and a half to.
So you must have like a fleet of vehicles then if you're moving all this stuff everywhere.
We have 2, if that constitutes a fleet.
That's more than one.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big Dodge Ram, which kind of does our bigger routes, and then we have his name is Rambo.
Nice.
And then we have a small little Ford van that we named Frank, and he kind of hangs out locally. We call him the senior citizen worker. He still provides a service, but you got to be mindful of the fact that he might need to take a few more breaks.
Yeah, it takes a little longer to warm up in the morning.
Yeah.
We love Frank.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe for our listeners, and me included, I don't know much about like the food bank system. Remember being a kid, like going and assembling bags at Second Harvest.
Mm-hmm.
That's really where my vision stopped. Like, who are people helping? Who is food insecure? Like, what are some of these stories?
I actually think who's not food insecure right now. There's a little meme that's going around with Kevin from Home Alone, right? And they say, like, if Kevin were left home alone today, the food that he bought would be 250% higher, right? So I think really, like, when we're thinking, like, how can I trim my budget? We're thinking, well, my groceries is my kind of one that I can limit. So I just want to say, I think everybody's got some amount of that. But 92,000 Spokane residents are food insecure. So that's
a
clients.
Huge number.
But I'm going to tell you a story because you did say, like, who. I think about our John out from Feed Spokane. John is well into his 80s, and he is the person that comes and picks up food for his food bank. I do see that a lot of our food banks tend to be kind of staffed by senior citizens.
Okay.
Who really, and I ask them all the time, like, man, you give 20 hours a week of volunteer service, and they're like, you need to have purpose. So that's kind of the personal stories, I guess, is a lot of them see that need in their community because they drive by and they're like, hey, I know my neighbor needed more food.
Yeah, and if you're in Sprague, it's not just a face, you know their name.
Yeah,
like,
you know their
it's
name.
your community.
So there's a really cool Cheney food bank called Bridge 58, and I love the, like, genesis of theirs. During COVID, when it became really hard to find food products, and she had a lot of elderly neighbors, she's like, I'm going to go figure out where the food is, right? And so she kind of went and she realized where it was, and she said maybe collective grocery shopping would be smarter than singularly going out there. And she does home delivery. So she actually picks up food from us.
That's got to be unique.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she takes it to 80 clients. And she said something to me the last time we talked that really resonated. And it was that, like, food banks are more than just food, right? Because she said she drops off food and she's like, why is your apartment so dark? Well, I don't have any light bulbs. Well, we'll bring you light bulbs, right? So it's more than just food.
Her mission's going to expand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you're seeing people in their homes.
Right.
You're going to want to fill different needs. I suppose that's like the Meals on Wheels too. We've heard from them, and just that idea of that social component that happens, when you go to people's homes for the elderly.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, we have a little bit of a partnership with Meals on Wheels too. So they pick up some food on the weekends and decide what they need, and what they don't need, we get back on Monday, and it becomes us. So it's a really big partnership. So there are so many.
Your organization is touching, like, the whole food system, huh?
I think the food system is just probably one of the most integrated systems that there is. That's really what it is, because, I ask my volunteers, well, what do you do when you're not here? Well, I volunteer at this other food bank. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they volunteer at all the food banks. They all know each other. So
how cool. So you can just get big things done.
Yeah.
So pallets of milk delivered.
Pallets of milk. We had.
What's another good story? What are some of the interesting things?
There's so many. So I went on Help Me Haley. I was really excited that she let me be a guest. And, like, I'm sitting there waiting to be interviewed. And she's like, hey, and I'm like, hold on, I have to, like, look at this text. And it's Costco, right? So Costco North and the Valley, they are giant donors to us. So they had ham come in that had been mispackaged. And I don't understand how the whole trucking industry works, but I think there's we sample, and if the sample size doesn't meet it, then we reject it kind of situation. But they had an agreement, and we were able to take the ham that was good. 11 pallets of ham. Like,
that's a lot of ham.
It's a lot of ham. Like, we were literally in, our food bank.
So this is like their Thanksgiving order or something?
Yes, it was coming in the beginning of November.
Yeah.
And literally, again, I don't have that much room in my freezer. And so our food bank partners are showing up, and I'm like, do you want ham? And they're like, how many hams? And I'm like, how many hams can you take? And one of them, Spokane AIDS Network, came back a couple of times and was like, oh, I know this other food bank that can take ham. Can they take ham? And so it was just like those kind of cool things. And food is our mission, right? But sometimes we get other stuff. So we got, it was right after Thanksgiving, a whole bunch of pallets of beautiful centerpieces that just...
I saw that on your social. Like, yeah. What a gift that is.
It is, right? And so we can't count it.
Yeah, all those flowers, they look great.
Yep, and they made it out. I'm lucky. I have Girl Scouts. I have a Girl Scout community. I'm from the Girl Scout world. And they were like, we can deliver these. And so they were going door to door in their neighborhood, taken joy. And today it was poinsettias that were going out to churches. I mean, it's just like those kind of cool things, and just knowing that people just want to feel cared for. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's true. That's a universal feeling, right? Want to be seen, want to be cared for.
Yeah.
Well, so your career was in the military, in the Air Force, but where's this, heart for service coming from?
Well, I will
it's
say
in you. Like you emanate it.
It's in me. I would say, I was thinking, I was really thinking about my own personal story in food banks specifically. So I grew up definitely, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I remember being so excited when I went from free to reduced lunch because I could exchange money, right? Because I didn't want to be like, I'm on free lunch, and you'd have to say it really loud. So there's some shame that comes from that, right? And trauma. And I actually told my mom recently, I said, I really wish you had used food banks when we were a kid, because her life could have been so much easier because she worked, 40. I remember my mom crossing picket lines when her companies were striking, because she's like, I'm a single mom. Yeah. So I would say my heart for service probably comes from seeing my mom. Maybe she wasn't volunteering in her community because she didn't have the time or the energy, because she's literally working
trying to grind it out.
Yeah, so I would say some of it comes from there, and then the military really is. I mean, service before self is of a core value for the Air Force, right? We have 3, and that's one of them.
What are the other 2?
Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do.
Oh, man. Winner, winner, winner.
I had to think about that. I was like, if I don't know, I'm in big trouble. But service before self, I mean, we are taught to volunteer, right? That's part of it. But then eventually, I mean, you first start doing it. Yeah, you probably do it maybe because you're told. But then you start to find, where do I belong in this? And then you really start to know why you're in that community, right? So I would say I got that from the military too. And my husband is a military veteran too. So we just kind of grew up like that. My daughter is at Gonzaga, and I rarely hear from her because she's volunteering, right? Because she's like, this is kind of the cool thing that we do as a family.
Yeah,
so.
now it's generational, right?
Yeah.
You're building on that.
Yeah, I know. I secretly.
Y'all just, because I know you, right?
Yeah.
I see you all just moving as a unit too. Around like, yep, we're going to help. This is how we do it. And it's really cool. It's inspiring.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We call ourselves Team Ortega. So we don't have a typical family dynamic. I'm mom, Rich's dad, Josephine's daughter. But when you're a single military kid, you don't get to be a kid. It's like mom and dad have to work late. My daughter learned how to make Cat 5 cables because I was communications. I would say probably when she was 6. And I'm like, Kara, I need you to make Cat 5 cables.
I got a project for you.
Yeah. So
she probably loved it.
Maybe. It was at midnight. I don't know if she loved it. But she did love that she grew up with like aunts and uncles that she's like, this is my aunt, this is my uncle. And they're not. They're airmen that were part of our life. So, yeah.
Yeah, but core to the foundation of your family.
Yeah. When Medical Lake had the fire, my husband started to invite neighbors who'd lost their homes to live with us. And I was like, this might be a discussion we should have first.
This may be a boundary. But that's the heart, right? Like,
yeah.
how are we going to help?
Yeah.
And, you work on nonprofit boards, too. You serve on Skillskin's board. And where else are you?
Well, so Skillskin was one of my early ones. And I came to Skillskin because I love operations and business. Okay. I mean, I have a heart for nonprofit, but I love how businesses work, and Skillskin's really special because it's both.
Right. It's like a peer social enterprise.
Yeah. So that's one of my groups. And then staff, we call it staff. It's really the working board part of Spokane Veterans Forum, which is therapeutic court for veterans who are maybe facing a crisis, maybe often a substance abuse issue, domestic, things like that. Things that with therapy and support, they could recover from. And more importantly, they don't just recover, but they can provide some recovery to maybe the people that I'm going to use the word victimized, but the people that are hurt by their things.
Sure.
So those are my 2 primary ones. And then, like I said, as a Girl Scout leader for 11 years. Yeah.
I bet that was fun.
That is where life is at, is kids. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I look back on my own life. I'm like, man, I should have had like 5 kids. It would have been fun.
1 kid is good. Girl Scouts let me have other people's kids for small amounts of time. Yeah.
See, you had it figured out. So going back to like the veteran court, is that also part of like that Spokane system where we did, drug courts and other
It is.
like of those alternative courts?
They're called therapeutic courts. So yeah, there's drug court.
It's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And at Spokane, I remember kind of being on the leading edge of those therapeutic courts.
Yeah.
And so you've seen it for a while. Like it works, right?
So super proud. I think we have a 5 to 6% recidivism rate of people who come through our system, and
That
that
seems really low.
It is. It's comparatively to the 80%, right? And the reason being, just like the Feed Spokane thing, it's about connection, right? So Spokane Veterans Forum, you get a mentor-mentee. They have a personal relationship. They meet, talk, have coffee, share a meal. Feed Spokane gives them dessert now.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, that's the connection right there. And yeah, leading edge again. So we were leading edge on food rescue, leading edge in, therapeutic court. We learned at our Skillskin retreat that one of the characteristics that we decided that Skillskin is scrappy.
Yeah, I love that.
I have thought about that, and I'm like, that is 100% what Spokane is. It's scrappy.
Yeah, it's like a community value, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna roll up our sleeves and work, right?
And get big things done.
Yeah.
And little things done. We just get it done.
Get all the things done, right?
Okay, well, so now, Spokane's kind of wrapped your family in. Is this going to be home for a while?
I think it is. So my other thing, I worked at Leadership Spokane,
Yeah, that's where we met.
Yep. Like so many people in Spokane, Leadership Spokane is where we kind of all meet, right? So I went through the program. My husband went through the program. I worked for them. My daughter's a graduate of the program. My daughter's the Lilac Queen too.
Yeah, she was.
She's the Lilac Queen right now.
Oh, so it's
right now,
current. Yeah.
So yeah, the new queen will be crowned in March. I'm super excited for that person when that happens. So I think I'm going to stay in Spokane because I'm hoping my daughter's going to be the mayor. Maybe.
All right. You heard it here, everybody. Next mayor.
She doesn't
give
know
us
that.
about, 15 years.
Yeah. She doesn't know that yet, but yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We put it into existence
We
right
just
here.
decided. Mom and Steve McBride decided your career. It's okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Well, so what's on the horizon for Feed Spokane? How do people get involved? Because I know you need resources, but do you need like help, like moving the food too? Like, what do you need?
We need all the things too. So we are an 1,100 square foot. I mean, ideally we'd be in a bigger warehouse. I don't think that like operationally that's going to happen for a while though, because
big costs money.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've had a few people evaluate our budget and they're like, whoa, you guys are shoestring. And it's true. We are. So I think our number one, probably financial support. So it cost about $10,000 a month to run our operations, which I'm really proud of because I think people run their homes.
That seems so low to be able to deliver so much food.
Yeah. So, our vans cost about $800 in fuel. That's probably our predominant, renting our facility. Our utilities bill is not the cheapest. So, because we have
tires for vans that,
tires,
go
supplies,
everywhere.
all of those things. So financially, you can find out how to do that at feedspokane.org. That's one way. We seem to be in an uptick. I think the holidays bring out the best in people, and we seem to be in the uptick of volunteerism right now. So I think people are sometimes scared. We use the word warehouse, and they're like, what does that mean? But yeah, we have drivers. I would say a lot of our drivers are partners, like husband and wife. Right. And
so they're hanging out, having great conversations,
going
and
to
doing
Costco
good.
and getting free things versus going to Costco. They probably go back in the afternoon and buy the things, but
their cart's 400 too, isn't it?
Yeah. So they're volunteering out there. We actually had a husband and wife show up today as first-time volunteers, and they were elk fire victims. They lost their home, and they're like, we just need something positive. So that's a good story out there. Like I said, most of our volunteers are they're retired. They love when we get a younger volunteer to show up. I think because it's just nice to have that exchange of energy. So we need volunteers. We need restaurants that are willing to coordinate with us and let us pick up food. I do want to put a plug. Like I said, Arby's, we get Papa Murphy's, Pizza Hut, Caruso's. But I also really want to highlight a few like Steam Plant, TT's, Outlaw, Max at the Miraboo, all of those they donate food to us too. So
Okay, so what is that? I know for a fact there are some restaurateurs who are listening to this podcast right now. And so what does that look like for them? So they own a restaurant, maybe they own a few restaurants. What's that partnership
So
look
they
like?
just connect with us, and the partnerships look differently, right? So like with Steam Plant, we don't pick up from them all the time. I think their kitchen management is probably really tight, so they're really good at. Well, I mean, their kitchen's right there in the public, right? So they're probably good at not overproducing. But they do call us. We just literally walk in. There's a few places that we secretly have codes to restaurants. We just go in. We know where our shelf is. We get our food and we leave. We never even see each other.
Yeah, so you can make it really, really easy, or if you want more of a relationship, you'll do whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, so we're just good at food rescue. I think
Okay,
because
so
we're flexible.
I've got a restaurant. I've got a couple beef rounds that are going bad, or not bad, but maybe I'm just gonna use it, and maybe 2 boxes of broccoli. Is that enough for you to send someone?
I mean,
pick it
ideally,
up?
we'll put them on our route, right? Like, so we'd be smart about it.
Yeah.
You're like, well, we're already driving by that place anyways on Tuesday. Can you keep it, frozen? But yeah, I mean, Pizza Hut, we pick up from them weekly. I'd say we get, 20 items. Costco is more than 20 items. But yeah, there's no too small, no too big. That's what I'd like to say.
Yeah, you'll just make it work. You'll route it.
Yeah, and our volunteers or staff are all trained, right? So some of them will go in and literally they're taking it out of the catering dishes and packaging it and taking it, or sometimes it's packaged for us. It just really depends. Outlaw, I don't even know if they know what we look like. We just go in through the door. The food's all in the buckets for us, bagged, right? And we just say, we're here, bye. And it's like literally, hi, bye. And we don't see each other's faces, but because they're busy.
But
right?
makes a big impact.
Makes a huge impact, right? So barbecue and baked potatoes. I mean, who doesn't want those things?
I'm ready.
So yeah. I drive around all day and then I'm like hungry and I'm like, why is that? There's food everywhere, but yeah.
Okay, so more partnerships with restaurants. What other dreams does the organization or you have right now?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if there's like somebody out there that wants to, we love our senior citizen Frank Van, but if we ever were able to replace him, that'd be great. If there was anybody who ever wanted to be like our in-kind mechanic, yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to doing that sometimes, but probably better. If you're a person out there listening and you're a forklift driver, we love you because our warehouse is small but tall. And so
Forklift drivers,
they love to come and move stuff around. It's like, I think they're like their own club.
I secretly love a forklift.
Oh.
I feel like a little kid.
Well,
like we have one at Skillskin, and I got trained not because I needed to like do that, just because I wanted to.
Well,
it's like
I'm working on that, but it's a little scary when you start to think. So thankfully, we've got a couple of volunteers that are working on showing me how to do things.
Do you go to like a third rack?
Yes.
I'm even scared of the third rack because it's like things get a little wobbly, right?
Yeah, you're like, what is that? I don't know. Should I do that? So yeah, volunteers. There's some room on our board. So like I said, we have a really cool board, and the fact that I'm trying to think of the dynamic of what makes it up. But like I said, regional health district, Arby's, because they know how to take care of food. We have. I'm going to mess it up. I feel bad. Bar Green and Ellingson is our board chair, Tammy. So she understands how commercial kitchens are built. We just have...
Yeah, you just pull people together like we are going to get it done.
We're going to get it done, right? I mean, that really, really is what it is. It's just diverse group of people that bring different skills to the table. So yeah, I'd say financially, volunteer, some supplies. We have a great event coming up. If I can just talk about that.
Please, plug away.
So January 19th is our winter warm-up. Middle of January, you kind of get the blues. So we're like, hey.
Yeah, and I want to be warm, so I like it already.
So come to Corbin Senior Center. We're selling our tickets there. Chef Paula is a super special person here in Spokane. She's over at Corbin all the time. I recently learned that Chef Paula has a day job. She's kind of on her way out of it. She's a funeral director.
Oh, wow.
So she's a funeral director and a chef. So that's Chef Paula. So she's helping me.
She sounds real interesting. I like her already.
Yeah, I told her I didn't really like to talk about death. And she said, Chrystal, you don't get pregnant talking about talking about it. And you don't get dead talking about that either. And I was just like, life advice from Chef Paula.
You heard it here.
Yeah. But so she She's going to be our chef. She's going to make something we're going to call it elevated comfort food.
Okay.
Put your cozy winter sweater on. We love galas, don't get me wrong, but there's something to be said about those kind of really community dinners, more what I would say our vibe is going to be. Because it seems
those tables are going to be set up. We're going to be, it's not plated like you're
it
that
might
way,
be
or are you
plated.
going to
Who
do
knows?
it?
But
Chef Paula.
It's up to Chef Paula. I do what Chef Paula says.
Smart.
Yeah. So, but it'll be a beautiful event.
Yeah.
I just want it to be community, right? I want our food bank partners to feel like they could come in and that they could feel comfortable and talk about their mission. And I just want it to be one of those environments where everybody feels welcome. Because sometimes galas can be a little intimidating.
Sure.
So I think so. As someone who used to put them together for Leadership
lot of
Spokane.
them.
Yeah. I love them and go to the Leadership Spokane Gala too. But yeah, I want this to be kind of that community dinner. I think that's really important. My husband, I have this idea of writing this book one day. It's going to be called God and Gluten. And that's the one thing that all people can relate to. Bread. Bread is good.
Foundational.
Right. So we're going to break bread, learn about our neighbors, and figure out what Feed Spokane is all about. So, so that's
Chrystal Ortega, Team Ortega. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.